Well, I know they're running behind at the moment. The stadiums are still being completed. They're rushing to get everything ready. Only a few days ago, we were finding out another team had qualified. Wales, Pays de Galles, have qualified for the World Cup for the second time in the history of it. So there's still lots going on. It's always the most important football tournament in the world, once every 4 years. I hope everything goes well. I still worry about, obviously, the heat and how our players can cope with the heat and playing in such conditions. So it's going to be a real test for a lot of the football nations of the world.
Like a journalist today, you like the Nations League because are 4 games now, 4 games in September, and 4 games in the next year. You like it?
So far, it's not really done anything for me because, I've watched Hungary beat England. I've watched Austria win as well. There's some crazy results. I've watched Italy play, and then last night I watched Croatia play France, and France had not a strong team. They left Mbappe on the bench, they left Karim Benzema on the bench, and they put half a team out. So I don't know if they're using it to prepare for the World Cup, or they're not taking it seriously enough.
From Qatar, not Ireland, not North Ireland, not Scotland, but yes, England, and yes, Wales, Pays de Galles. What do you think about the British football today?
The Premier League is a really strong league. It's one of the strongest in the world, if not the strongest. I still think La Liga is more technical. I think the Spanish La Liga is more technical, and maybe that's why Real Madrid keep winning the Champions League. But they're both very, very good leagues. A lot of the players who play for Scotland and play for Wales and play for Northern Ireland and Ireland don't play in the Premier League. They're playing in the league below. I think that's a problem. And I think it has been a problem for the last 5-10 years with the quality of the players that are playing for the international teams are a little bit below what it should be. We've got lots of players in the Northern Ireland team who play their football in Scotland. Our last 2 games against Cyprus and against Greece, we never scored. And if you don't score goals, you don't win football matches. So, that's a problem as well. And having the talent like Argentina have with Lionel Messi, he can score 3 or 4 goals if he wants in any one game. And it's just, and Cristiano Ronaldo's the same when he plays for Portugal, always scores goals. So, having a goal scorer is so important. And at the moment, some of the nations like Scotland and obviously Wales have done really well to qualify because their outstanding player has been Gareth Bale, and he's not played much football this year for Real Madrid. And yet he's been the star man for Wales. So they've been fortunate, but they deserve a little bit of luck after 64 years since they last qualified. So I'm pleased for them.
You say Lionel Messi. What do you think about him? Because he's unbelievable in all games. What kind to say from Messi?
Well, I mean, I commentated on La Liga for over 23 years. I watched Lionel Messi coming through the ranks, and I knew in the first year that I saw him, he was a star. And then he became a superstar. I've been privileged to meet him several times. He's a fantastic guy, but he's better than that. He's such a wonderful player. And it's not just the goals he scores, it's the chances he creates and what he can do. Sometimes I think Argentina put a little bit too much pressure on him and maybe they asked too much of him. But in the final third, when he's got the ball, his balance is so good. And he reminds me an awful lot of George Best, who played for Northern Ireland. And a lot of people think he was the best player in the world, but George never played on the world stage. That's unfortunate, but he was incredible. He had fantastic balance, and he would have loved to watch Lionel Messi play. So I'm his number 1 fan. Lionel Messi is number 1 for me. Ronaldo, number 2.
Okay, Gerry, you know George Best personality?
Yes, I made my debut with George Best in 1977 against West Germany. It was a friendly match, and that was my debut for Northern Ireland. And I played centre forward, delantero centro, alongside George. So it was a great privilege and fantastic honour to play for my country alongside him.
What kind of man were George?
Fantastic guy, great character. Loved getting the ball and beating people. He had great balance. His balance was fantastic. He could go maybe 45 degrees one way and then come back the other way when the defender's wrong-footed. And then he would put it through their legs. When they didn't want to get it put through their legs, he would play a wall pass off their shins and go past them anyway. He was just so instinctive. And in the 60s, he was the best player in the world. There was nobody who had so much talent as he did. And he was a winger, but he scored every season for Manchester United. He scored over 20 goals, and he did incredible things with the ball. And I watched him when I joined the international squad and watched him training. And he loved training. He loved to tackle. He wasn't big, but he was determined. He had a great attitude and wanted to play football, wanted to train every day. He was just everybody's boyhood idol. We all loved him.
Okay. In 1979 and 1980 in Spurs, you played with Ricky Villa and Ossie Ardiles. What do you remember from the Argentinian players?
Yeah, 78, 79, 78, 79 y 80. Three temporadas. And they were great guys. And Osvaldo brought, he was small. And I thought, it's a very physical league. The English league, very physical. He's small. He's going to find it difficult. No, he had great balance, just like George Best. He had lots of options. He was so quick with his feet, and he brought a new dimension, and he changed English football. He and Ricardo was big, but Ricardo had fantastic skill, brilliant ability, and he could dribble past players. So the two of them, when they arrived, was a breath of fresh air, and they really took the English Premier League by storm. And I was glad to be there and part of that.
Ossie is like Andres Iniesta?
Yes, he was. He was just like an Iniesta. And although Ossie scored more goals than people give him credit for, Iniesta, I always thought could have scored more goals. He had so much ability. But Ossie scored like 6 or 7 goals or maybe 8 goals every season. And but his feet were so quick. And he danced past the tackles, and he was just a joy to watch. I was so pleased he was playing for my team and not one of the other teams. But it was a revelation for the two South Americans to come to play for Spurs.
Okay, in this team play Glenn Hoddle. There was a big talent. What kind of player was Glenn?
I saw Glenn as a 16, 17-year-old when I joined Spurs, and I thought, wow, he was very elegant. He was tall. And I didn't know if he was right-footed or left-footed. He was as good with one as he was with the other. And he made it look so easy. But his passing was unbelievable. And I have to say, when I played at Tottenham, he was the best Tottenham player I've ever seen. He was incredible. And I thought England were poor that they didn't give him. He only got over 50-odd caps. Should have played over 100 games for England. But the managers in those days thought he needed to work harder. And Ossie and I had talks about it, and Ossie said if Menotti had him, he would build a team around him, like he did with Maradona, you know. And he said, but Glenn has this ability, and he said, you have other players in there who can defend. Glenn is there for the attack to create, well, he scored goals from midfield. He scored over 20 goals a season from midfield. He could score free kicks with his left foot, with his right foot. It didn't matter if it was a half volley or a volley on either foot. He could score goals from everywhere. But a great person to play with. And he was superb. And another one I was very pleased and privileged to play with.
Okay. The last 2 questions, Gerry. The first, 40 years ago in Spain, from North Ireland, were a World Cup amazing, so amazing, winning to Spain with your goal. How do you remember the World Cup from Spain?
Well, to qualify was really difficult for us. We had only ever qualified once before in 1958. So we were in a difficult group with Scotland, with Portugal, with Sweden, who were all ranked higher than us. And then Israel came in at the last minute, which meant 2 teams qualified. And I remember we had a great result against Sweden. We beat them 3-0. And then we went away to play Scotland and drew 0-0. But then the difficult games came when we played Israel. And Israel, it was really hot. And this is why I think in Qatar, some of the players will find it difficult. You know, we played a better league and we were playing better leagues in England. But when we got to to Israel to play in Tel Aviv. It was so hot, and we struggled after 25 minutes. And Israel had chances to win the game, and I thought we did well to get a draw from the match. Then we lost away to Portugal. That was a bad result for us. And then we had to get results against Sweden, and we lost against Sweden after we beaten them 3-0. So the big games were at home to Scotland. We drew 0-0 with, or 1-1 with Scotland in Hampden, and then we drew 0-0 with them in Belfast, and we were disappointed. We were hoping to win that game, which meant we had to beat Portugal. We beat Portugal 1-0, and then we had one more game left against Israel, and we beat Israel 1-0. But Sweden did us a favour by beating Portugal. So that meant that we qualified for the World Cup. So we were pleased to qualify, but no one thought we could do anything. We were the team that everybody thought was going to get beaten. Our first game, we played really well against Yugoslavia, and we got confidence from playing against them because in the second half, we looked the better side and looked much stronger. We were physically fitter than they were, and we were really well organised. And we had chances in the second half maybe to win the game. Then we played Honduras, and I thought we played really well first half hour against Honduras. We went 1-0 up, and then they equalised, made it 1-1. So the last game was against Spain, and Spain were near enough already qualified. So we knew that we had to beat them. And it was a difficult game, especially when you get a player sent off in the second half with still 35 minutes to go. But we were very resolute, determined. We never got many chances, but we shocked the world. And this is what happens in the World Cup. You can get shock results. And we beat Spain 1-0. And, people buy me drinks for the last 40 years because of that goal, which is great.
Okay. And then play with France in the second round, a really good team from France, no?
Yeah, we played, in those days, there was 3 in the group, and France beat Austria, and we played Austria and drew with Austria 2-2. We should have beaten them, and we were unlucky not to. But then we played France, and we had, in the first 20 minutes, we made it really difficult for France. Platini, Rocheteau, Gerry, they had a very, very good side. But we scored against France, and it was a good goal. But we didn't have VAR, and the linesman, he put the flag up and,
yes.
and he disallowed the goal for Martin O'Neill, our captain. I think if we had scored that goal, we would have been playing Germany in the semi-finals and not France.
Okay.
Yes. So, but it was great to get to the quarterfinals.
Okay. Gerry, for me, it's a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you for your time. Sorry for my English. I study English.
Your English is muy bien.
Muy bien.
Mucho mejor que el español mío, ¿eh?
¿Tú has jugado en Mallorca?
Jugaba en Mallorca para 2 temporadas, solo 2.
¿Enfrentaste a Diego, a Maradona?
Sí, jugamos 4 veces, 2 en Copa La Liga y 2 en la Liga, pero fuimos para una caña, dos veces con Maradona. Y un chaval muy bueno, ¿eh?
Ah, sí, buen recuerdo tienes.
Porque yo tuvo 3 o 4 compañeros, son Rolando Barrera, jugaba con Mallorca, Juan Verón y
Juan Verón.
Verón, sí. Oriana también juega. Y el Suberito, el lateral derecha, jugaba con Barcelona. También está. Son los 4 argentinos y fuimos para beber con Maradona a vez en cuando, ¿eh?